It's time for, hello, a Jersey Shore recap podcast.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, welcome to another episode of Hello. My name is Angel, but on Jersey, you can call me Cookie.
And my name is GWOW. Together we are Cookie and GWOW. We recap Jersey Shore every single Jersey, and this is season 4, episode 3. This episode is called Twinning, and that's a great title for this episode. Oh my god.
Twins are certainly a recurring theme in this episode. We'll just say that.
Yes, and it comes back to Mike with Brittany, who's one of the twins, which at this point, I don't think we know she's a twin. Or if
not yet.
She's right now, she's just labeled the most DTF chick that Mike knows. But I don't think we realize that there's another person attached to her. I don't think we realize she's a twin yet.
No, right. Yes, we have not found this out yet. And I don't understand, like, is she just there on vacation? Because she's an American. I think she's a tourist as well.
She is, but I think she's there abroad for school because Mike a couple times is like, do you have class today? And she's like, no, it's a free weekend.
I missed that.
Yeah. So I think she just is there abroad, which makes me wonder how old she is, but like she's probably 21.
I think so. Oh, I'm glad you said that, because at the end of last week's episode, we were trying to figure out what the drinking age is in Italy, because it seems like people are really young at the club. So I Googled it since we've last spoke, and I have the answer.
Mm-hmm.
The drinking age in Italy is 18.
Okay.
However, it is not super heavily enforced because of their culture and how wine is so kind of folded into like you have wine with dinner. So a lot of people underage do drink, and it's pretty socially acceptable, but it is technically illegal, and you can't buy alcohol. And so anyone in a club probably is 18 because the ID.
Okay.
So they're young,
18,
but they're 18.
But I could still see how Polly, who's 30 years old, is like, I'd really like for these girls to not be 18. Like, I get that.
Yeah, no, of course, absolutely. And that's the right mindset to have.
Yes. Thank you for that, you guys. So then the next day, Nicole and Ron realize that they have a lot in common right now because they're both like in the gym and like focused on all of that. And so they decide to go to the gym together. They get a little lost and end up at a random place to eat first, which I guess they were just trying to find a specific place because they do end up at the gym eventually. But I will say in this little lunch, I'm surprised at how pro Ron and Sam Nicole is at this point.
Yes, I thought that was bizarre too. It kind of came out of nowhere for me, I felt like, but I guess we never really got her opinion before. But she was saying, like, I think you belong together and you guys should hook up and you guys should get back together. And she was saying that to him, and also in confessional, being like, yeah, I just think it's inevitable, so they should just get back together. I don't understand that, because
I just thought of a theory.
Yeah.
What if she was like, I see this Mike drama that he's trying to like start with me, and I don't want to be the plot line this season, so I need Ron and Sam to get back together so that the cameras can fucking shift off of me and back to them.
Why don't we actually just cap this off for now? Because I think there's a little more on that later, and I think something happens later that corroborates what you just said. So we'll talk about that when it happens, because I think you're absolutely right.
Well, the next little pair, the next little pair that goes to lunch is Dina and Sam, which I think I said this last episode. I really like their little pairing together. They're super cute and fun. And Dina at this point is like, I want to flirt with a guy. I came here to have fun in Italy. So like, what's goody? And she gets their waiter's phone number, whose name is Ellis, I believe.
Oh, I didn't even get his name. But she was being super flirty, and he lived for it. He seemed to like the attention.
Yeah, and he does meet up with them later, because after their lunch, everybody's getting ready to go out. I will say, I think it's funny that the guys maybe like know that the girls take a little longer to get ready now. And so I don't know who gave them the mini foosball table, but the mini foosball seems to be the activity that they're doing when they're getting ready to, only when they're getting ready to go to the club and waiting for other people to get ready.
I guess so, because they just throw on a t-shirt and style their hair, and it can't take that long, so they gotta fill the time.
That's
Better they
true.
do
They don't
that
have to
than like,
straighten their hair for 10 hours like Sam does.
and I feel like the girls would appreciate that because what's the alternative? When they're bored, what do they start pranking, they start making fun. So them just being off doing foosball is probably the best for everybody. They got to keep
Yeah.
themselves distracted, otherwise things get chaotic. You know, Polly.
Yo, yeah. So we go out to the club and Ron and Sam again kind of have this. It feels like the same conversation as last
Yes.
episode, where it's like, hey, we're not doing this while we're drunk, but you're right. We need to talk. So Ron promises to Sam that they can talk the next day, which, like you said last episode, I do think that was the right decision. I appreciate the clarity. And if anything, I think it's a better indication of the possible success of their relationship this season versus other seasons, because they're
Right.
definitely trying to go more about it less messy and more the right way.
No, absolutely. There's a very clear change in their dynamic that I think signals that they've learned from their past experiences. Like I think they're seeing like, oh, deja vu, we've been here before, so let's go about it differently. And if I'm being honest, if I didn't know Ron's future, like if I was watching this for the first time again, I might think possibly that he's grown a little. Like he's coming off okay in these first few episodes. So we'll see how he is the rest of the season. But at this point, he's not picking on Sam too much. He was in the last episode a little, but in this one, yeah, he cuts up the conversation and says, let's talk more sober, and that's the end of it. So it went okay this time.
Yep.
Mike's friend Brittany shows up to the club with her twin. And I believe Mike invited them there. I think he said, we're going to be here, meet us there at that time. Yet, the moment they show up, he says hello and then walks away and says, I don't really want to hang out with them. I just need them to be here as a backup.
Yeah.
That was kind of gross a little.
It is gross. He's like, well, the twins are my backup plan. Let's see what else is around. And it does seem like he like at some point like gets another girl, takes her out, but then she doesn't like follow him out of the club. So then he's like, oh, well, once I get back, I'll just call up Brittany and see where they're at. And it is kind of gross. And like, I get that these girls are a little all over the place. And I wonder if they stand by everything that happens when they're around this crew, but it is gross on Mike's part.
It is. And we've talked about this before, and I've shared this opinion about Mike before, but I do think he's doing it on purpose to create the douchebag persona. I truly believe at this point that he wants to be the villain. I don't think he's being himself and is coming off bad. I think he's playing a character of the villain. And I guess that's sort of interesting. It's a different perspective that I have now than when I was watching it for the first time, you know. I just think there's a strategy behind it.
Yeah, and just to wrap up with what happens with Mike that night, like once they do get back to the house, Mike is like, oh, I gotta call Brittany because, you know, my plan A fell through, so let me call plan B, which again, gross. But Nicole's like talking to her dad, which I understand, like, and there are other situations, and I understand that there's only one phone in the house, and so it's not like, oh, I'll just, you know, use another phone or something. Like, I get that that's the only way of contacting her, but it is kind of, I think, a little disrespectful that Nicole's like, this isn't like my boyfriend, this is my father. And Mike's still like, just 2 seconds, I'll need the phone. And Nicole has to be like, all right, Dad, I'll call you back after Mike makes his booty call. And like, I just I give her credit for handling that all with grace, because I'm just like that. I just think it would be a different story if she was talking to a friend or even Gianni. I'm like, that was her dad. And there is a different in time difference. It's not like, oh, I'm coming home and I want to drunk call my friend. Like that was probably the first, like, I just feel like there's limited time that they're going to get to talk to their family, and Mike's going to like interrupt that so that he can call this girl over that could have came home from the club with them in the first place if he hadn't done this whole like plan A, plan B thing.
Absolutely. And I think there's a layer to it that we've talked about this, where Nicole and Mike had this sort of unspoken thing between them. They're like, both kind of know what they're well, like Mike is messing with Snooki, but she likes the attention. And I don't know, there's this kind of weird back and forth they're having.
Yeah.
But you're right that it takes it to another weird level that he's doing it while she's talking to her father. That makes it kind of extra inappropriate, because
disrespectful.
It's disrespectful because it does feel like he's like, hey, I'm about to call a booty call. How do you feel? I'm
Right.
calling a girl. We're gonna have sex. How does that make you feel? But and it's like you could do that any other time, but not now. Like, let her get off the
Yeah.
phone with her father first, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I didn't like that. So that's what happens with Mike. You know, he does call Brittany, whatever. In any case, backing up a bit, when Dina gets to the club, the waiter, Ellis, does meet up with them and they're like hard making out and dancing on the dance floor, which is everyone's like very happy for Dina and very excited. She brings him back to the house, and you had said, I think that like the boys can get a little too, like they can take things too far sometimes. And this is one of those times where I think they're adding this level of pressure to this situation that Dina's in. And I just think it's not like they're kind of treating her like a guy in the sense of like, oh, Dina's getting it in, like all this stuff.
Mm.
But I don't think, even if it was a guy and there was a girl there, I just think like it's kind of disrespectful to be like saying these things that are gonna happen before they've happened, because then it just puts like pressure that and expectations that Dina didn't actually set. They're just like putting into the air. I don't know if I'm making
Mm-hmm.
sense, but are you
Yeah,
following me there?
I am. And you know what? From her perspective, and she even says, like, you guys fuck all over the house and nobody says anything. But when I so much as bring a guy home, you won't let up. And I think there is truth to that. I don't think they're coming from a place of malice. I really do think they're just picking on her. But I can also see why she's frustrated because there is that like for the most part, people let you have your hookups and don't really make too much of a thing about it. Nobody's
Right.
making fun of you for bringing a girl home. So like, let me just have my moment. Yeah, for sure.
Well, and they keep like yelling at her, being like, just go in the smush room. And I don't agree with them
Right.
yelling at her, because like you didn't even ask her the first time. Like if they had walked in and Dina was like making out and they were like, oh, are you, if you guys are gonna like do more than this, can you go in the smush room? Like, you know, like there could have been like a conversation, but they were jokey. So like if Dina came out mad and was like, you guys stop messing with me, and she came out a little heated, but like I get it. But like Vinny's like yelling at her, like, I'm sleeping out here so you can get it in there. And it's like Dina said multiple times, she's like, I'm not doing sex. I'm just making out this guy. There's no reason that we can't all sleep in this room, because I sleep in the room while you guys are making out with girls. So why does it matter? And they're like, I don't like the tone in which Paulie and Vinny are like loudly yelling at her, like, just go in the smush room. I'm like, that was like a giant leap to where, like, I just felt like it was really uncalled for. And then of course the guy feels awkward, and Dean is like, yeah, these guys are ruining this whole thing for me. And they show him like awkwardly sneaking out later. And I don't feel like the guys handled that correctly, when like it's not like she was trying to come in and fuck him in the middle of the room so that nobody else could be in the room. So I just felt like they could have been better friends in that moment.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with Dina, because Dina is she's the kind of the perfect friend because she's a girl's girl and a guy's girl. Like she's one of the girls, she's one of the guys. She gets along with everybody. She matches everyone's vibe. And with the
Yeah.
guys, like she's been there's also been times when she's been messy, but she's been their wingman. She's
Yep.
supported them in their hookups before. So it does feel like out of nowhere and of all people, not Dina. Let Dina have her moment. Stop it. And
I
I
agree.
I did think it was funny though when he snuck out because he waited till it was the dead of the night and everybody was asleep and he was like a cartoon, like tiptoeing out of the house. I thought it
Right.
was funny.
It was
I have
very
to ask
comical.
before we go to bed, I have to ask you, have you ever
Did you just say before we go to bed?
no, I said break. Did I? I might
Yes.
have.
You
I
said
meant
before we
break.
go to bed.
Nighty night. No, before we go to a berate. Um, have you ever awkwardly snuck out of somebody's house when they were sleeping after a hookup?
Yeah, but he woke up and caught me. It was super awkward.
What did he say? Did he let you go or did he try to be like, where are you going?
He made a joke about like damn, not even gonna wake me up or something, and I was like, oh, sorry, bye.
I have to say that it's not an experience I've ever had, and I feel like in a way I've missed out. I'll tell you, I've never done two things. I've never snuck out of a house while someone was sleeping, and I have never had an early morning walk of shame in my club clothes. I've never had
Wow.
those experiences, and I feel like I've missed out. It's not too late, but
I was gonna say, good
like,
for you.
I feel like I was gonna say it's technically not too late, but I feel like I'm too old now, so maybe that's just an experience I'll never have. That's okay.
That's funny.
Well, let's go night night. Let's go to bed.
Yes, let's take a little break.
Can't get enough of hello?
Never.
Well, check us out on social media. We're on Instagram and TikTok at hello pod.
And if you are listening to us, but you'd rather be watching, you can go to patreon.com/hello. There's also going to be tons of bonus content, including bonus episodes and behind the scenes, like how I got my Snooki pove.
And last but not least, if you're a brand or you just want to give us money, send us an email, a professional email at hellopod@gmail.com.
All right, let's get back to the show already.
Okay.
Hello.
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 We're back.
We are back. Brittany, one of the twins, is stalking their whole life on the boardwalk and is incessantly calling the house. And she keeps asking for Mike, who's sleeping, but Ron and Vinny are the ones, I guess, picking up. And I think she thinks she's in on the joke, but I think they're laughing like at her. You know what I mean?
Very that. They were sort of making fun of her to her face, well, to her voice. And she's, very much. She was just laughing like, oh, that's so funny. But really put me on with Mike. And they just keep hanging up on her. And so finally, Ron, who's not normally a pranker, this was surprising. He decides to go Polly and pull a prank and invite them over and then leave. He invites the girls over and then they leave.
Which that was pretty funny because then they just like are in the living room and Mike's like, hey guys, like walk into his room, I guess. And they're like, hey, you invited us over. You said an hour. And he's like, yeah, let me get dressed and we can go to breakfast.
Well, actually, I thought their arrival to the house was so funny that I actually clipped it. So let's take a little listen.
Perfect.
Why are they here right now? It's daytime.
It's daytime.
Who's who?
Laugh. I can't.
Why are they here? It's daytime. That was so funny.
Daytime. That's so funny. Nicole's on the phone with Gianni and walks in when they walk in is like, what is going on? So,
but I will say Mike makes the best of it. He doesn't like kick them out or make it awkward. He's like, well, they're here, so I guess I'll make do. So he takes them on a date and they kind of go out, the three of them, the two sisters and Mike. And he decides in that moment, I think I'm going to try to have a threesome with them. And I'm going to start planting the seeds now.
I was very confused by this whole scene too, because were the girls under the impression that they were both on a date with Mike? Or was it like, oh, I'm Brittany's sister and I'm accompanying her on her date with this guy? Like, what was their motive, you think? Like, you think they have threesomes? Like, it's so fucking incestual and weird.
Oh, I definitely got that vibe from them. And it was very off-putting to me. I have to say, I'm so sorry to all twins out there. But twins in general freak me out a little bit. Because
I don't think most twins act like this though, and none of the twins I've ever met like would seem so down to hook up with the same guy at the same time.
Yeah, well, no, there definitely is that like borderline incestuous vibe, and it freaks me out because it really does feel like they're on like a date with him, like it's a 3-person date, and it feels very awkward. And I actually have notes. I don't even want to talk about it now because I'll say it when it happens, but there's more of this vibe later.
Yeah, and he's treating them like a novelty for sure. Yeah. Like not as women, but as like a novelty. Oh, twins. Yeah, it's gross. It's gross. And we're far from done with the twins. So we can get into it when they come back.
You're right. Because it makes me so uncomfortable.
It's weird. Okay. It's weird. But we gotta just quickly talk through Sam and Ron, which listen, we are in a Sam and Ron sweet spot. And if my memory serves me correctly from this season, we're going to be in a good sweet spot for a while. So as much as I'm not team Ron and Sam, this moment felt okay. As a viewer, I'm like cautiously optimistic. They go out to eat. They agree that they want to start over, and it is emotional. Like it got me a little when he's like, obviously I love you, Sam. And you can tell like she's so hopeful, and it they got me a little. I got a little emotion.
There was something to it. I agree with you. I think this thing about Ron, which is why it's so sad what ended up happening, like what he became and how he's behaved, because I do believe that he truly loves Sam. I don't think he was good for her. They weren't good for each other. I don't think he's a good person to be in a relationship with in general. But I do believe that in his way, he loved her and he wanted what was best, I guess. And it almost is hard not to feel that way in the setting they were in, because Sam points out this is like by far the most romantic moment they've ever had, and she's not wrong. Like they're in this beautiful like rooftop bar with a garden, and they're drinking wine, and they're overseeing all of like Florence, Italy, and it's like gorgeous. And I almost like, if I was there too, I might have folded as well, because the whole setting is like perfect.
The only reason I'm not like, God, I hate this, is because a lot of the fighting that's going to happen the rest of the season isn't between the two of them. So
I do
we're going to ride out
there,
the sweet spot.
There is obviously more drama to come with Ron and Sam in general over the next few seasons. But I think we've gotten over the worst of it. I think season 3 was the Ron and Sam season. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's definitely light in Italy. That's for, well, it's light on them. There's tons of other drama. So,
well, and they get evolved, and obviously we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but they get evolved adjacently in beef and drama down the line. But it's not necessarily the two of them. They're just involved. So we'll see. But yeah, you're right. This is very much a sweet spot, and it is sort of weirdly romantic and the most Ron and Sam can be. And they kind of confirm right here, we're back together. Like, this is it. We're doing this again, which is very like, all right, if that's what you want, girlfriend.
I think the rest of the house isn't thrilled, but they're also like, there's nothing we can do, and we're just going to hope it goes better this time. So it's just what it is.
Well, that's what the majority of the roommates feel like, except for Snooki, who is quite excited they're back together. And now earlier, you said that you felt that maybe she was looking for more drama to get the focus off of her and Mike. And she kind of confirms it in this moment, because she said a little bit, because she says, the house has been really boring without them. I can't wait for them to be back together so that they can have drama and it will be exciting. So I think you're right. I think she's like, her agenda is to like, I think she's being a producer a little bit, MTV producer Nicole, because she's like, let me set up a storyline and then mine will be put on the back burner, which is good for her. It's smart and strategic.
I get it. Well, the night ahead of us is a long one, so should we take a quick break?
I think so. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Sapphic Survival Guide.
My name is Cheyenne.
I'm Gina.
Class is now in session.
How do you define queer style?
How do you communicate that you don't want to U-Haul at all?
Right, as literally every queer woman I meet hate Geminis.
How do I deal with the most devastating breakup I've ever been through? Sapphic Survival Guide.
We're happy to be queer to answer your questions.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello!
We are back, and it's time to go out again.
Out.
We're going out.
God, this night is gonna be a lot. Let's buckle up.
Well, you know,
they're out.
Let me say, I've discovered a pattern. Whenever somebody in confessional is like, "This is just the perfect night. It's like we're back in Jersey. Everyone's having a good time." You know, it's going to be the most dramatic night when they start that way, because that's what happens. They're like, this is the best night so far. We're having a great time. Everybody's on a good vibe. For now.
And then the twins show up, which they make it seem like they're getting to like stalker level, but it's hard to know if they're wanted by production, if they're wanted by castmates, if they just want to be there on their own accord. But I don't find them stalkery yet. I feel like, if anything, they're opportunists.
Yeah, and you know how the production of the show is. They're a little shady with the editing, and like they play the horror movie music when they walk up, like they're somehow dangerous. You know damn well someone invited them there. They're not stalking anybody. I get why they framed it that way, because it's funny, but I think it's not exactly the same, but similar to with Paulie and his stalker, where I'm like, there's more going on behind the scenes than you're saying. Like, I think Mike is calling these
Yeah.
girls, if not production, then Mike himself, and like he just had a date with them either that day or the day before. So it's like just like showing up everywhere, like they're hanging out with him.
Yeah, and it is in this moment that they show up that he's like, and we're on for the threesome. It's gonna happen. And Nicole weirdly like flips this switch and decides to play wingman for Mike's threesome. Like she takes Erica aside and is like, you should totally hook up with Mike. The three of you should totally do this. And I'm just like, Nicole, you're all over the place.
I wonder if there was an off camera conversation, or maybe she had a realization of like, oh shit, it looks suspicious, I need to play the other way. Like maybe it looks like we have a weird vibe, so let me play like I'm still just his friend and his wing woman, and nobody will notice that we have tension. Like I wonder if it was purposeful in that way.
Well, it seems like the threesome is gonna happen. Like it's definitely seeming like it's leaning that way, or at least the girls are like entertaining Mike being around both of them and all over both of them. But then my girl Dina, she swoops in and starts spitting some game at Erica, and it was good. Like she did great as a queer woman. This was some good game that she was spitting, and they start making out, and I'm so here for it. And when I was watching this the first time as like a teenager myself, this whole episode was everything.
It was incredible. The flipping of the switch and the gender roles with Dina pulling a robbery on one of the guys' girls, that was iconic. Nobody saw it coming. The guys steal from each other, but Dina swooping in, that's fucking funny. And also, I don't think she did it just to troll. I think she really just was having a good time and they were enjoying each other. Yeah, it was a very fun moment. It was,
I think she was
unexpected.
genuinely interested.
I
mean,
think
and
so.
she talks about how she feels about her sexuality later, which is part of our cookie quote, so we will get to that. But I definitely think she's not just like trying to start drama. Like I think she was genuinely like, I want to see what Erica's about. She's kind of cool, pretty. I like her eyes, you know, that whole thing.
Well, she may not have been aware that there was a threesome brewing. Like she might have thought, oh, he's got Brittany, so I'll take the sister. So I don't think it was like a weird thing on her part. No, it was fun. It was unexpected, and I think good for Dina for exploring. Good for her.
Now the twins do come back to the house, and this is like truly chaos. Okay, so I'm gonna try and break this down because everything is happening so fast. There's so much, like I said, just chaotic events happening. But the twins get back, and Mike is like putting his girl in bed, and he's very like, just lay down, which is like very, very weird. And it's far from over talking about Mike, but I want to just talk through then. Erica's supposed to be in Dina's bed, but she goes to straddle Vinny. And I'm just like, what is this girl's intention? Is her intentions just to be there and hook up with anybody? Is she so drunk and like doesn't know what she's doing? Because she like fully gets out of Dina's bed, gets into Vinny's bed, and there's this like push pull with Dina and Vinny and this girl, and the girl's like down to just be passed around. I do not understand.
Which is especially bizarre when you take into account, I don't think we've even mentioned this, the fact that she said, Erica, the girl that's switching from bed to bed, that she's never had sex before.
A virgin!
She calls herself a virgin. What?
And that made me think, though, is she gay and she's calling herself a virgin because she's never had like penetrative sex? Because like she seemed pretty comfortable with Nicole, but then also, with Dina, but then also when Dina like finds her on top of Vinny, she like doesn't have pants on. So I'm like, were you fucking Vinny? Was that you losing your virginity, or was the virginity thing a lie? I don't get it.
Now we were earlier again, we were talking about the weird dynamic between the sisters, and I said we'd come back to a moment. I want to talk about it now. It is framed as a passing moment very quickly. Nobody addresses it. I caught something that nobody on the show or even the whole editing of the show seemed to focus on, but it stuck with me. and it's not sitting
Okay.
right with me. So Snooki is questioning Erica about like, oh, you're a virgin. You know, I know your sister's hooked up with Mike in the house. So like, have you never hooked up? Have you had threesomes? Do you like? So she says that sometimes she will watch.
Oh yeah.
Did I hear that right, or am I crazy? Like she
Yes. No,
watches.
you're
She
correct.
says, "I've never had sex, but I will watch my sister hook up sometimes." What?
Yeah, no, you're right. That was absolutely bananas. So weird. That's gross.
And nobody said
The
anything about it.
last thing I would ever want to do is watch one of any of my relatives have sex. So like that's very gross to me.
It was so bizarre, and it's like I almost felt like I was really excited to talk to you about this because I didn't know if I heard right. Like, am I?
Yeah, you know you did.
What? And Nicole didn't say anything. She just like the conversation just went on. What the fuck? Okay.
I don't love that. I think the whole like twin thing gets real weird real fast, and
That felt like a thing in early 2000s, like in movies and stuff. Like
yeah.
it was like the ultimate goal. So I don't know. I never got it either. So the vibe
Yeah,
is weird.
it's very like objectifying. It's like it's like fetishizing. I don't know. The twins are just they're all over the place.
Well, there's one more twin thing I wanna one more twin thing. So Erica,
Yeah.
it's getting pretty hot and heavy with Dina. Like they're really going at it. And I think Dina has a moment where she becomes kind of lucid and she like, does this ever happen where you're hooking up and you like leave your body and you could see it and you're like, oh, I don't like what's happening. Because she kind of freaks out and is like, never mind, go back to Vinny. I don't like this anymore.
I think she kind of realizes like I think I've gone as far as I want to go, and this is like now this is like too much. But she literally does just like pass her off to Vinny, and Vinny's like, okay, thanks. Now that you're done with her, I'll take her. And Erica just allows this to happen, and it's a little uncomfortable, honestly, because it just seems like, okay, so is she okay? Is she, because she's like falling off of the beds and stuff too, and it did get a little icky for sure.
I am so curious what these girls are up to today. I wonder. Let's find
No.
out. Let's look them up and we'll talk about it next week. We'll see if they're on social media or anything.
Perfect. Well, more drama here because now that Sam and Ron are back together, they're having their little like post club food and snack, and Ron lets it spill what Mike said about him and Snooki, and this kind of domino effects. Like Ron is mentioning it to Sam, JWoww hears, she tries to get like clarity, like, well, what did Mike say? What did Mike say to you though? And she does go to Nicole and she's trying to like warn her without saying too much. And it doesn't really like Nicole doesn't really come off the best, I feel here. And it makes me think that there was like maybe something happened and there was a gray area. Like I almost feel like neither of them are telling the truth, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. But it just doesn't, the way that this plays out, it does look, it kind of simultaneously looks like they're both guilty, in my opinion. Like it makes it seem like, okay, Nicole does have something to hide, but Mike's also exaggerating. And like I said, domino effect, because it goes from Ron and Sam to Jenny to Snooki back to Mike, where then the yelling ensues.
Well, let me say this before we get into the yelling. I feel like Jenny's reaction was specifically pretty interesting to think about because I feel like it's sort of telling in a way. I think Jenny accidentally, I don't think it was on purpose, but her reaction accidentally snitched on Snooks a little bit because she immediately, well, first of all, I want to set the scene. Nicole and Mike were talking and they were having their sort of flirty but not flirty, kind of touchy-feely conversation like they've had a few times throughout the season. And Jenny walks in and she says, "Can I talk to Nicole alone? It's an emergency." And she pulls her aside and it's like tense. It's like anxiety-inducing to watch. She pulls her aside, and I actually have a clip of it because I wanted to play exactly what she says.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's something to dissect here. There's something telling about what she said to Nicole. So let me play it.
people about what you guys did. Everyone.
We didn't do anything.
No, he told everyone. Everyone.
We didn't do anything.
I don't know. There's something about that was not in Nicole's favor. She didn't say, Mike is saying that you did this. She said, Mike told people what you did.
Yeah, I think she's trying to use vague language, but it does. And I feel like even the way that Snooki's answering is kind of like a warning of like, we didn't do anything. So shut the fuck up, Jenny. You know, it's very like that. And I do think that it almost was like production could have kept that conversation out and made Nicole look a little more innocent. And so that's why I think that like neither of them are telling the full truth.
Well, this is what's so interesting about, because she was like, no, nothing happened. Why is he saying that? Because nothing happened. And Jenny says, no, he told people, everyone. She didn't say like, I believe you, or why is he saying that? She said, no, he told people. So what that reads to me is they had a conversation privately where Nicole confessed to Jenny everything that happened, and Jenny knows everything. And she's, like you said, vaguely trying to say, it's over. It's out now, and you need to address it, because this like hiding it and it being a secret is kind of not an option anymore. That's what that read to me as. So that's why I feel like she kind of inadvertently made Nicole look bad.
No, I think you're right. I don't think she played it as cool as she could have, but also I think she was like very under like this panic of like Mike's running around and we need to get ahead of this. I don't know. And it kind of turns bigger because then Ronnie's like trying to give Nicole some advice that's very hypocritical. Just, I don't even want to spend time on what Ronnie's advice is. It's just like, oh, you should be honest. And I'm like, are you fucking serious, Ron? But
well,
Mike,
listen, I'm so sorry. We cannot breeze past this because I wrote down what he said. He says, you don't want to find out like how I did. How you found out what?
Well, okay, I'm wondering if he meant though, if he's comparing like what he did, not like, oh, Sam cheated on me and how I found out. Like I think that was in reference to like what he did in Miami.
Okay, maybe you're right. I misunderstood it because I perceived it as him trying to be like, oh, Sam did me wrong and I found out on TV, because that is not what happened.
No, I perceived it as like, you don't want to do what I did.
Okay. All right. Okay. I heard it differently, but I think you're right, though.
I still think the advice is hypocritical, just like to be giving that kind of advice. But Mike gets mad at Ron for even like entertaining this conversation, because I don't think Mike's happy with the way that everything's playing out, because it's like, oh, now Mike, you're a liar, or is Snooki telling the truth? And I think like he's got to be mad at somebody, and so he's like, oh, I'm disappointed in you, man, and it's fucking annoying.
And Ron's kind of living for it though. Like, this is his revenge moment, because truthfully, Mike did snitch on him several times. Although that information deserved to be out and Sam deserved to hear it, I also understand from Ron's perspective where he's like, there's no bro code anymore. You broke it, so it's gone. Like, I'm gonna say it. If you said it, you aired my laundry out. I'm airing out yours. There's no more code. And in that sense, he is kind of right, because like, you can't like air somebody's dirty laundry and then expect that same person to keep your secrets. It doesn't work that way.
Right. And this is already so chaotic, but then the twin that Mike like awkwardly put to bed wakes up and is like, hey, like, what's going on? And Mike just like rushes her into the smush room, and then that's like the end of Mike for the night. And the episode ends with Nicole and Jenny talking. We don't really get any resolution, and we don't really get any answers, because I think the picture Snooki's trying to paint is like, Mike's telling these lies and it's going to ruin my relationship. But I think you're right in that like Jenny's kind of given some things away that I don't know. It just doesn't feel all very kosher to me.
I just have to say that this moment in particular has stuck with me. There's a lot of season 4 that I couldn't remember going into the rewatch, so it was like kind of new to me again. But this whole scene, I remembered it so distinctly because the energy of it is so intense. I mean, there's not a lot of screaming. It's not like a big screaming match. It's not intense in that way. But there's so much like, you feel like something's about to explode, that it just stuck with me. And
Yeah.
Jenny talking to Nicole in that moment is like, I never forgot it because it was like eerie almost. It was like, ooh, the vibe is kind of spooky. Something feels
Yeah.
weird about it. You know what I mean? It's like it's just heavy with you.
It definitely is a weird note to end on, and I think a lot of this season is going to get a little heavy in that sense. So
Mhm.
we can lighten things up with our cookie quote.
Absolutely.
This is Dina's commentary on her sexuality.
I think this one's all you. I think you're Dina in this one for sure.
Okay, then you can start us off with Snooki.
Okay. Dina's being lesbianic tonight.
It's not the worst thing on earth, like bringing home a girl. It's just not something I normally do. I wouldn't say I'm a lesbian, but I guess bi-curious. I don't think I'd ever date a girl because I really, really love penis, but I have fun. And scene.
You know what? Dina's a little ahead of her time.
That was like the greatest thing ever for me when I was younger and like trying to figure out my own what I have going on, and to hear that just like said so casually and it wasn't a big deal and nobody made it a big deal. That was honestly like a very, very empowering moment for me at the time. So I really appreciate Dina for being that girl.
We love you, Dina. Dina, if this ever gets back to you, you know you're our favorite and we live for you, and we're just so happy that you exist. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I love that she like had her fun and then now also has her family. Like I hope she gets everything she ever wants out of life.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly we are such Dina stans. And I think it was a nice little light note to end on because like I said, I think a lot of the season ahead is going to get a little heavier. So
that's what I was thinking watching these. I was like, these last 3 episodes, the last 3 episodes have been a little drama, but mostly fun. And it really does feel like the calm before the storm because I know what happens later in the season. So everybody brace yourselves. It's about to get real chaotic.
Yeah, stick with us to find out. So goodbye.
Goodbye.
Hello!
No, goodbye.
If you want more of the podcast, you can follow us on any social media at hello pod.
We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/hello. We've got a video feed there so you can see our beautiful faces while we recap Jersey Shore. And we've also got a little bit of behind the scenes bonus content for you.
And you can find me anywhere online at The Libregina, including my website, thelibregina.com.
And you can find me online on TikTok and Instagram at angel.iconic.music.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.